Hi, I'm Sarah. The living room felt alive, filled with warmth and laughter as Michael and I put the final touches on the decorations for Lily's adoption ceremony. The scent of her favorite lilies mingled with the soft sweetness of vanilla candles flickering on the mantelpiece. Michael adjusted the banner that proudly read, "Welcome home, Lily." His hands were steady, but his eyes shimmered with excitement every time they met mine. "Everything's perfect, Sarah. Can you believe she's finally going to be officially ours?" His voice cracked with emotion. I smiled, tucking a stray lock of hair behind my ear. "I can't wait. After all we've been through, this feels like a dream." The journey hadn't been easy. Michael and I had spent years grappling with the heartbreak of infertility, each negative test a painful reminder of what we thought we couldn't have. But when we met Lily at the foster care center, with her bright eyes and shy smile, we knew she was meant to be our daughter. The adoption process had been long and exhausting, yet every step brought us closer to this moment. As guests started to arrive, the room filled with chatter and congratulatory smiles. My brother Ethan was one of the last to enter. His smile was tight, his eyes scanning the room with an unreadable expression. Despite his traditional views on family, which often caused tension at gatherings, I hoped today would be different. "Hey, Ethan. Glad you could make it," I greeted him, trying to keep things light. "Yeah, wouldn't miss it," he replied, though his tone was reserved. I always believed that family should be traditional." I met his gaze, my voice firm but calm. "Family isn't just about blood, Ethan. It's about love. Lily is as much our daughter as if I'd given birth to her." His frown deepened, but he said nothing more. The ceremony began, and as Michael and I stood beside Lily, her small hand wrapped tightly around mine, I felt the weight of this beautiful moment. The officiant was halfway through a heartfelt speech about families and new beginnings when Ethan abruptly stood up. "Lily's not a real family member. This is a lie. She's not one of us and never will be." "Ethan, enough." Michael's voice was steady and firm as he stepped forward. "Lily is our daughter, and your approval isn't needed." The room grew tense, guests shifting uncomfortably. Some murmured their support, while others seemed uncertain. Ethan, his confidence faltering, glanced around the room. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking," he shot back, though his voice wavered. "No," I said, stepping forward. "You're saying what you think. Lily is our daughter, and if you can't accept that, maybe you should leave." Ethan stared at me, the fight draining from him as he saw the unity between Michael and me. Without another word, he turned and walked out, the door closing sharply behind him. The warmth that had briefly faded slowly returned as our friends and family rallied around us, their support a comforting blanket against the chill Ethan had left behind. Lily looked up at me, her smile so bright, so full of hope. In that moment, I knew we'd made the right choice. Not just for us, but for her. This was what family was truly about: love, commitment, and belonging, no matter the bloodlines. Michael squeezed my shoulder gently and then turned to the guests. "Please give us a moment," he said, guiding them toward the refreshment table. Once the room had emptied out a bit, I stepped outside, finding Ethan leaning against the porch railing, staring out into the yard. "Ethan, what happened in there? This was supposed to be a happy day, and you—" I trailed off, my voice thick with hurt. He didn't look at me, his voice tight. "You wouldn't understand, Sarah. You're changing everything our family stands for." "That's not true. I'm expanding what our family can be. Why can't you see that Lily is as much a part of this family as any of us?" Finally, he turned to face me, his eyes clouded with fear and frustration. "It's not just about today, Sarah. It's about what comes after. Adopting, it opens doors we can't close." "What about the family legacy? The lineage?" I scoffed, the word bitter in my mouth. "Legacy? Is our legacy more important than giving a loving home to a child who needs one? How can you be so selfish?" Ethan's posture deflated as he rubbed his forehead, his voice quieter. "It's not just selfishness. It's about preserving what we've known. You moving forward with this, it feels like you're leaving the rest of us behind, like our way of life isn't good enough." I softened, seeing the fear behind his words. "Ethan, you're letting fear control you. You're hurting everyone around you, especially a little girl who just wants to be loved. How can that preserve anything good?" He looked away, the conflict in his eyes now mingling with a deep sense of shame. In the weeks following the adoption ceremony, the ground shifted beneath all of us, but none more so than Ethan. His once rigid and structured life built on his unwavering beliefs, began to crumble. "Did you hear about Ethan?" Michael murmured one evening, scrolling through his phone as we settled on the couch. Lily was dozing peacefully between us. A knot formed in my stomach. "What now?" I asked, bracing myself. "He's been put on leave from work. Apparently, some of the board members heard about his outbursts at the ceremony. They're questioning his judgment, saying this isn't the first time he's let personal biases affect his professional decisions." The news didn't surprise me, but it still felt heavy. Ethan had always prided himself on his career. His identity was so deeply intertwined with his professional success that I knew this would cut him to the core. As Ethan's world seemed to shrink, ours expanded with a new and profound sense of belonging. The community's response to the adoption had been overwhelmingly supportive. Neighbors who had attended the ceremony expressed both their disdain for Ethan's behavior and admiration for our strength. Our friends and extended family rallied around us, organizing small gatherings, playdates, and outings for Lily. They made sure she felt the embrace of a community that saw her as one of their own. "Mommy, everyone is really nice here," Lily remarked one day, her voice full of innocent wonder as we watched her play in the park with her new friends. "They are, sweetheart, they really are," I replied, my heart swelling with warmth. Her simple observation touched me deeply, a reminder of just how far we had come. The contrast between our growing support system and Ethan's increasingly solitary struggle was stark. While his life seemed to fracture, ours flourished. It became clearer with each passing day that the open hearts around us had given us something far more valuable than tradition or bloodlines could ever offer. As we continued to build our lives around love, connection, and acceptance, it was evident that while Ethan had lost much, we had gained immeasurably more. Our community, our friends, and our family didn't just accept us. They celebrated us. And in that celebration, we found the truest meaning of family. Months had passed since Ethan's disruptive outburst, and the ripples from that day had finally settled into a calm, steady rhythm for us. But for Ethan, the consequences of his actions had only deepened. One crisp autumn evening, as Michael and I planned a small gathering to celebrate Lily's adoption anniversary, my phone rang. It was Ethan. His voice, once so confident, was now low and tinged with defeat. "Sarah, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I know I've made mistakes, huge ones. I'm sorry, truly. Can we meet? I want to make things right." I paused, the phone heavy in my hand. The old pain, dulled by time, still throbbed at his words. "Ethan, I appreciate your apology, but I can't put my family through more turmoil. We need to heal, and right now, that means doing it without you." A silence stretched between us. Finally, he sighed, his voice quiet. "I understand." We ended the call with a sense of finality, though the decision weighed on me as I watched Lily, so vibrant and completely at home in her life with us. I knew it was the right choice. Protecting this peace, this happiness we had built, was my priority. The day of our celebration was simple and joyful. Close friends and family gathered in our backyard, the golden leaves above us creating a warm canopy. Lily, dressed in a bright blue dress with ribbons in her hair, flitted from guest to guest, her laughter mingling with the soft music. Michael stood beside me, his hand warm on my back as we watched her. "This is what it's all about, isn't it?" he said softly. I nodded, my heart full. "It is. This is family, not defined by blood or birth, but by love and choice." As the party continued, I stepped aside for a moment, taking in the scene before me. This was our chosen family, diverse, beautiful, and strong. We had created a circle of love and support that was just as real and legitimate as any traditional family. In the quiet corners of my thoughts, I hoped Ethan would one day find his way to understanding and acceptance. But our paths had diverged. His journey was no longer intertwined with ours. I turned back to the celebration, to my husband, my daughter, and the friends who had stood by us through it all. In the laughter, the shared stories, the clinking of glasses, and the setting sun, I saw the true essence of family. It was resilience. It was forgiveness, not always of each other, but of the hardships we have faced and overcome. It was the forward motion of lives bound together by choice and by the simple, profound act of love. Ethan's absence was a poignant reminder of the cost of holding too tightly to unyielding beliefs. Alone and regretful, his path stood in stark contrast to the vibrant, inclusive circle we had drawn around ourselves. In this new beginning, there was no room for the narrowness of the past, only the wide, embracing love of our present and future. This was our family, legitimate, undeniable, and real. That brings us to the end of our story. Now, I have a question for all of you. Do you believe that family should be defined strictly by blood ties, or can chosen relationships provide the same sense of belonging and love? What are your thoughts on creating family bonds through choice rather than traditional lineage? Please share your opinions in the comments below.